Namaskaram to all. Shruti Smriti Purananam Alayam Karunalayam Umami Bhagavatpada Shankaram Loka Shankara. In this session, I would like to share some of my thoughts and views on the topic Shankara and Vaishnavism. The reason this topic is a bit interesting for me and probably for many of you is that be the name Shankara or the general accepted thought around Adi Shankara Bhagavatpada or the Acharya is that Acharya was a Shaiva. He was one of the proponents of the Shaiva philosophy, is how many people view the Acharya. Though Acharya in his works, especially the Prasthanatraya Bhashyas and everything, has made it amply clear that it is Brahman alone that matters to him. And any other form of Brahman, be it Vishnu or Shiva or Shakti, is but a form of Brahman. But Brahman is ultimate. That Nirguna Brahman, the Supreme Self, is the ultimate. Still, even when you look at the very form of the Acharya in the photographs and various aspects, the Shaiva, the Shiva Tattva just shines forth. Be it the Tripundra, be it the Rudrakshamala, be it the name Shankara, all of these. And adding to these, you have the various stotras and the shlokas you get from the Shankara Vijayas that speak about how Shiva came down as Shankara. Ajnanantar Gahanapatitan Atmavidyopadeshehi Tratum Lokan Bhavadavashikat Apapapachamanan Uktva Maunam Badavitapinoho Mulato Nishpatanti Shambhor Murtischarati Bhuvane Shankaracharya Rupam. So the Shambhu, that Dakshinamurti, who was Mauna Guru, started walking and talking and started going round Bharatavarsha as Shankaracharya. So all this gives a perspective that Acharya was Shaiva. There's an interesting verse I would like to begin this session with, which is probably said to have been said by the great Mahaperiyava, Sri Chandrasekharendra Saraswati Swami of Kanchipuram, in one of his discourses. He said to have said, while describing the Acharya, Antashakto Bahishaivaha Vyavaharetu Vaishnavaha. Who is Acharya? Is he a Shaiva? Is he a Shakta? Because he has composed so many great texts, so many texts of involving Tantra, the Shakta Tantra. Details such as the Saundarya Lahari, which go into elaborate aspects of Tantra, the Sri Chakra, and various other aspects. Is he a Shakta or is he a Vaishnava? So this shloka in a way encompasses all of this and says, Antashaktaho, Antashaktaha. He is a Matru Hridaya. So it's Antashaktaha. Bahishaivaha. When you see him outside, he looks like a Shiva Bhakta, he looks like a Shaiva. Vyavaharetu Vaishnavaha. In Vyavahara, he is a Vaishnava. That is that Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam. The entire world being one. And Sarvam Vishnumayam Jagat. These aspects is what you find in the Vyavahara of the Acharya. So, Acharya does not belong to one theistic tradition at all, right? He is a Brahmavadi. However, it is still interesting to delve in deeper into this topic of Shankara and Vaishnavism, and let us see how we proceed into this topic. Let us start with the childhood of the Acharya. Now, Acharya, as many of you would know, was born to Shivaguru and Aryamba. Aryamba Devi belonged to a family called as Melpalur Mana. The Melpalur Mana, even today, exists near Cochin in Kerala. This is the place where the Chinmaya mission has built the Chinmaya International Foundation and the Chinmaya Vishwavidyapeeth in the precincts of that place, which originally belonged to the family of Aryamba Devi. From the maternal side, if you look at even today, and if you go by the the oral tradition that you find in the place, you still have temples dedicated for Rama, for Krishna, and various other deities like Shasta and Kiradamurti and everybody in the precincts of the Melpalurmana. So very much the aspect of Rama Bhakti and Krishna Bhakti, which has been there in Kerala as a Pradesha itself for a long period of time, was also there in the maternal side of the Acharya. Now, when you come to the paternal side, Shiva Guru was settled in Kalati. Now, Kalati had a temple dedicated to Lord Krishna, which is still there even today when you go to Kaladi, apart from the main shrine of Adi Shankara Bhagavatpada and Sharadamba that was consecrated and constructed by the Jagat Guru of Shringeri Peetham. Beside that itself, you will find the Krishna temple. And this was the Krishna temple that was existing during the time of Shiva Guru itself, and Shiva Guru was also performing some Archaka Vritti for this temple as well, in this temple as well. So Krishna Bhakti, to Vishnu Bhakti or Vaishnava Bhakti in the form of Krishna Bhakti, Rama Bhakti was already there in the family of the Acharya right from childhood, be it from the maternal side or be it from the paternal side. Another special mention is about the incident that you find in the Madhaviya Shankara Vijayam, when Aryamba Devi, then after the demise of Shiva Guru, the Upanayana of the Acharya happens, his Vedarambha, his Shravana Manana and Nidhyasana, his entire contemplation on Brahman and all of that stuff. And Aryamba Devi, fainting one day because of her long travels to take bath in the river, the Periyar river, which was flowing quite away from the Kalati village. And by his Yoga Shakti, by his divine powers, the Acharya is able to bring the young boy of 6 or 7 years, is able to bring the river at the backyard of the house, and the river starts to flow at the backyard of the house in Kalati. Today also, when you go to Kaladi and you see the place where Acharya lived, where the house of the Acharya was, which is what is converted into the Kshetra or the temple. Because the reference to that comes, how do we know that that was the place where the Acharya lived or the Shiva Guru lived or their house was? Because you find a lamp, post in which lamp is being lit every day. It was being lit for many, many years, because that was the lamppost under which Aryamba Devi was cremated. And in those days, because there is a special incident that comes in the life of the Acharya, because the Nambudri families around did not cooperate with the Acharya in helping the cremation of the mother, because they believed that the sannyasin should not be doing the cremation of the mother. They had, in a sort of, removed the Acharya from their entire society, and they did not agree to give any help to him in cremating the mother. Acharya should have cremated the mother at the backyard of the house itself. That is how the story goes. So the mother Aryamba was cremated at the backyard of the house. So the lamppost where you find the lamppost today, where the lamps are being lit, is the place where Aryamba Devi was cremated, and definitely besides that itself is the house. Should have been the house of the Acharya. So even today, when you look at that place and you look at the Purna river, it is just the backyard. It is just closely flowing near the house. So when the Periyar river started flowing this way, right? The river was called as Purna, and it started flowing at the backyard of the house. It started flowing adjacent to the temple walls of the Krishna temple. And that started eroding the temple walls. And that started creating instability, and that started posing a danger to the existence of the temple itself. And Lord Krishna itself has said to have come in the dream of the Acharya and said, please place me at another place. Reconsecrate me at another place, because this is a dangerous place for me now with the river coming here. And Acharya is said to have done that reconsecration in the age of 7 or 8, before he left Kalati Grama, he is said to have done this reconsecration of the idol of Krishna into a newer temple. And he is also said to have composed the Krishna Ashtaka at this temple for this deity in this temple of Kalati. So this is the story that we find from the Shankara Vijayas, which again brings a very strong influence of Krishna Bhakti right from the childhood of the Acharya, right? Now, when you even take the probable situation that could have existed in the society then, the entire land of the modern day Tamil Nadu, Kerala, some aspects of Andhra Pradesh and Karnataka is what was called as Dravida Desha. In this Dravida Desha, Tamilagam, which constituted a large part of all of Tamil Nadu, some parts of Andhra and some parts of Karnataka, and entire of Kerala, was part of what was called as Tamilagam. And Kerala, the region of Kerala was called as Malanad, the hilly region, right? That is why even the language is called as Malayalam, because it comes from the land of Malas or the mountains. So Malanad. When you look at Tamilagam itself, we know of a lot of battles that have happened in Tamil Nadu, the Tamil land of yore, between Shaivas and Vaishnavas. However, in the Malanad or Kerala Pradesha, there has been a very harmonious coexistence of these traditions. The Shaiva Bhakti, the Vaishnava Bhakti, the Shakta Bhakti, all of them have coexisted. So even till today, the Nambudris, who are the priests of the Vishnu temples of Kerala, they would also be wearing Tripundra or Bhasma and performing the puja. So it is not that if you are a Vishnu Pujari, you will be wearing the Nama or Tilaka only, and only if you are a Shaiva priest, you will be wearing the Tripundra. That distinction does not exist in Kerala. All the priests, all the Nambudiri priests, be them worshipping a Devi or Shiva or Vishnu or Shasta or any deity, they would be wearing Tripundra or Bhasma only. In addition, they might wear other tilakas, etc. But that is common. And that is the beauty. So probably even during the time of the Acharya, that coexistence probably was there already as he was growing up between Vaishnava Bhakti, Shaiva Bhakti. So there was no specific tension in the society related to these theistic traditions. However, we find this strong influence right from the childhood of the Acharya. Now, when you look at further, the entire life of the Acharya, you look at the various associations of the Acharya with the different kshetras. The most prominent contributions of the Acharya, especially from a theistic tradition perspective, from a temple worship perspective, has been to the Vaishnava tradition. Because right from Kashi, when he moved towards Badarikashrama, where he wanted to compose the Prasthanatraya Bhashyas, he reconsecrates, he takes out the idol of Rishikesha Narayana in Rishikesha and reconsecrates that idol, because there was a Shaligrama only being worshipped. So he reconsecrates the idol from the river. From the river, he takes it, from the Ganga, he takes it and reconsecrates the idol in Rishikesha, which is called as Rishikesha Narayana. Then when he goes to Badarikashrama, again he finds Shaligrama worship. He again goes into the Ganga, comes out with the Badri Narayana, the Yoga Murti of Badri Narayana. And he prescribes the rituals as per Kerala Tantra. And he mandates that the Kerala Nambudri must perform the rituals and the rites and rituals for the Badri Narayana, for the Vaishnava worship. Right? And Badarikashrama is one of the foremost Divya Kshetrams as per the Sri Vaishnava tradition. The 108 Divya Kshetrams, when you look at Srirangam, Tirupati, Badarikashramam is one of the foremost among them, Badri Narayana. And it is because of the Acharya that Badarikashrama, that Badri Narayana was reconsecrated. So his contribution to the Vaishnavism and the Vaishnava, that theistic tradition is immense. Next comes his sojourn to Puri. Jagannatha, again, there is a Shalagrama Vigraha being worshipped. Again, through his Yoga Shakti, he finds that the entire Daru Vigraha was buried underground of Jagannatha, Subhadra, and Balabhadra. He orders for it to be taken out. He finds that the entire Daru Shila has just withered away, and only the Brahma Padartha, or the soul of the Bhagavan, is there. So from that, again, the Daru Shila is constructed on top of the Brahma Padartha. And again, the Navakalebara, which happens to reconsecrate the bodies of all the three, that happens after many, many years for the first time during the time of the Acharya. So again, he restarts that tradition. He again reconsecrates idols of Balabhadra, Subhadra, and Jagannatha in Puri. And again, that entire tradition again, and the entire following begins there of the Vaishnava Shakti. So there, Jagannatha following is another great aspect of Vaishnavism. The Badrikashrama or Badrinarayana following is another great aspect of Vaishnavism. He has visited. In his sojourn, we find stotras dedicated to many of these Vaishnava kshetras. You find Jagannathashtakam for the Jagannatha. You find Ranganathashtakam for Sri Rangam. You find Venkateshwara Stotram in Tirupati. You find Pandurangashtakam for Panduranga, which is the hub, the fulcrum of Vaishnava Bhakti in Maharashtra. If you look at the Maharashtra Pradesha, the fulcrum of Vaishnava Bhakti is centered around Panduranga, which is also a very mixed tradition which harmoniously coexists. The Shaiva, Vaishnava, and all these aspects coexist here. But it is a strongly Vaishnavite tradition again. So this be the Vaishnavite tradition of the West centered around Panduranga, be it the Vaishnavite tradition of the North centered around Badrinarayana, be it the Vaishnavite tradition of the East centered around Jagannatha, be it the Vaishnavite traditions of the South centered around Sri Rangam, centered around Tirupati. All these, you find a strong association and contribution of the Acharya in all these kshetras. So this is an important aspect to note of the Acharya. And we find the life of the Acharya as is evident through his Shankara Vijayas, the biographies. Now let us look at the works of the Acharya. So this is as we look at the life of the Acharya, right? The life history of the Acharya as is evident from the various Shankara Vijayas and various biographies. Now let us look at the works of the Acharya. Let us start. Now, stotras, we all know that, as I mentioned, there are various stotras. Even beyond these stotras, there are 3 stotras purely on Vishnu he has composed. The Vishnu Padadikesha, the Vishnu Bhujanga Stotra, and also there is one more beautiful stotra on the Vishnu, which is called as the Vishnu Shatpadi. Avinayam Apanaya Vishnu. That is how it begins. Avinayam Apanaya. The lack of humility, the lack of modesty, the lack of gratitude, gratefulness. I'm not having those good qualities. Please remove that lack of all these things is how he begins worshipping Vishnu in the Vishnu Shatpati. The Vishnu Padadikesha, there is not one aspect of Vishnu he is not worshipping. Be it starting from the Ayudhas of Vishnu. Shankha Brinnanda Kichakri Shangadanva Gadadaraha. The Shankha, the Chakra, the Kaumodaki, the Nandaka, all the Ayudhas. Then the Adishesha on which Vishnu is resting. Lakshmi, who is at the feet of Mahavishnu. Then the Padadikesha Varnana of Vishnu, starting right from the nails, the toenails onwards, right till the tip and the entire Varnana. Beautiful shloka, which one shloka or two shlokas dedicated for each part of Vishnu, bringing the form of Vishnu right in front of us. Other beautiful aspect I would like to highlight here is that there are various acharas or worshipping traditions in Vishnu temples even till today which are associated with the Shankara Parampara or Shankara Sampradaya. In the Padmanabha Swami temple in Trivandrum or Thiruvananthapuram, the puja or the worship, the Pushpanjali, that is Archana of the Mula Vigraha, can only be done by the sannyasi, who is typically called the Pushpanjali Swamiyar, who belongs to the Shankara Sampradaya in Kerala. Shankara also established various mathas, which is attributed to Shankara in Kerala, which we shall deal with, which we shall speak about in another session. One of those mathas, the sannyasi who is the Pushpanjali Swamiyar, who is the Archaka of the Mula Vigraha in Padmanabha Swami, is the Swamiyar, is the sannyasin belonging to those mathas of Shankara Sampradaya. Badrikashrama, we already said, it is the Nambudri appointed through the mandate of Acharya, which Nambudri has to go from here, which families from Kerala, and how the selection process and everything has to be done and taken there to Badrikashrama. So you find that in many of the major temples of Vishnu, which are the Divya Deshans, the Archaka or the Archana or the tradition or the worshipping tradition is very, very closely associated with the Acharya even till today. So all these are testimony to the great association the Acharya has with the Vaishnava tradition. Now coming to the works of the Acharya. So stotras, yes, we can always keep elaborating on the stotras, be the Rama Bhujanga Stotra, the Krishna Ashtaka, Achyuta Ashtaka, Govinda Ashtaka, and Bhakti. It is Rama Bhakti, Krishna Bhakti flowing in all these stotras. But if you go to the Prasthanatraya Bhashya, the Prasthanatraya Bhashya is supposed to be the Prasanna Gambhira Bhashya. It is focused only on Brahman. Acharya doesn't deviate here and there, right? His Bhashyas have the unique greatness of not relying on theistic aspects and just sticking to Vedanta Vishaya or Brahma Vishaya. That is why he chooses his references also in such a way that they have no theistic references, that they have no theistic aspects associated with them. That is how he chooses his references. That is why you will not find in his Prasthanatraya Bhashya, even the Upanishad references, he will consider only 13 Upanishads. Apart from the 10 Mukhya, there are 3 other Upanishads he considers as references. In the Bhagavad Gita, he will maximum go to Mahabharata, because Bhagavad Gita is part of Mahabharata. Beyond that, he will not go here and there. So, he will remain strictly under the code of Upanishad, under the code of Veda, Veda Pramanya, the Shruti Pramanya, he will strictly adhere to it. Such an Acharya, in the Prasthanatraya Bhashyas, various places, as an analogy, right, to explain a concept related to Brahman as an analogy, he gives some beautiful analogies related to Vishnu. Let us look at some of those analogies. In his commentary on the Brahma Sutra, to explain that the Brahman present inside the physical body, the Brahman stationed inside the Kuta, the Kutastha, right? The Brahman as the Kutastha, inside the physical body, Brahman is present, is existing, that lively presence of Brahman. The way he gives the analogy to that is the presence of Vishnu inside the Salagrama. Just like inside the Salagrama, there is an inherent Sanidhya. The moment you see the Salagrama, you know that the Sanidhya of Vishnu is there. It is Vishnu itself. Because the Vishnu Sanidhya is there in the Salagrama. Similarly, the moment there is a body you are seeing, Brahma Sanidhya is there inside that. Brahma is there, Brahman is there. Is self-effulgent, is what Acharya says. The reference he gives is, he says, Athava Jivapura evasmin Brahma sannihitam upalakshyate yatha Salagrame Vishnuhu sannihita iti tadvat. Just like within the Salagrama, Vishnu is sannihita, is present inside, well present. Similarly, inside the Jivapura, Brahma sannihita, Brahman is there, is established. Another place, in the Chandogya, when he speaks about the upasana on Brahman, Brahmopasana, and he speaks about saying that when you say you are doing upasana on someone, you are bound to use certain symbols, you use certain names, use certain mantras, etc. to do the upasana. Though the upasya or Brahman is nirguna, nirakara, all of that, still for the human mind to get to that step, it needs those steps. So he says that the upasana of Brahman, considering the names, various names itself as Brahman, is valid because that is at that level of maturity, that is the stage at which the sadhaka is. So he considers that itself as Brahman. If I am saying the name Brahman, that itself is Brahman. If I am chanting the Vedas, that itself is Brahman. That is how step by step he progresses. Just like he gives the analogy of upasana on Vishnu by considering the idol itself as Vishnu. The Vishnu Pratima itself is Vishnu. Is it in reality Vishnu? It is a Shila. It is made of stone, daru, or any metal. However, when you're doing the upasana, you consider that is itself is Vishnu, because that is your first step. For you to reach that formless, you need to start here. So he says, Namopasva Brahma iti, Brahma Buddhya. So that Nama upasana of Brahma, Brahma Buddhya, considering that itself is Brahman, is just like Yatha Pratimam Vishnu Buddhya upaste Tadvat. Vishnu Buddhya, considering that itself is Vishnu. Then, in the Brihadaranyaka, he says that it is very difficult to grasp this formless Brahman. Just with the senses, with the Indriyas and the mind, you cannot grasp that formless, infinite Brahman. So you need a symbol, what I just mentioned about as external symbol. You also, the namas, you also need a symbol like Omkara. So the Omkaropasana, when it comes, he says that that is essential. Omkaropasana is needed because you cannot grasp that infinite just like that. You need something to hold on. And Omkara becomes that anchor. It becomes a symbol, which is what even Yoga Sutras, Patanjali Maharshi says, Tasya Vachakaha Pranavaha. It is his Vachaka. It is a symbol. It is a form of that Supreme, right? Which is verbalized. So to give that analogy, Acharya says, just like you need an idol to get the vision of Vishnu, you consider that itself is Vishnu. You are performing everything to that idol just because, assuming that itself is Vishnu. Similarly, you need to do that upasana of Omkara itself as Brahman. Then it will lead you to that formless. Because in Sri Vaishnava tradition, the Pratima of Vishnu itself is Archavatara. Where is Acharya saying? I'm not saying that. Acharya is also saying the same thing, isn't it? So what is he saying here? Yatha Vishnu Angankitayam Shiladi Pratimayam Vishnum Lokaha Evam. You see Vishnu in that Vishnu Angankitayam Shilayam Pratimayam, with all the angas of Vaishnava angas of the Nama, the Chakra, the Shankha Chakra, Gada, Padma, that form, that Vaishnava form, when you see, you immediately get absorbed into the Vaishnava Shakti or Vishnu Shakti or Vishnu as the Devata. Similarly, you need to do Upasana on Omkara with Brahma. So if you see in all these places, he could have even used the examples of Linga and Shiva. Why didn't he not use that? But he uses Vishnu Pratima. That shows the soft corner the Acharya has towards Vaishnava Bhakti, towards Vishnu. That is the soft corner that Acharya has, and we find it in all these references. Then the next one is, of course, the commentary, his Upodghata on the Bhagavad Gita Bhashya, where clearly, in unambiguous words, he says, Sa Adikarta Narayanaktyaha Vishnu. That Vishnu, who is also called a Narayana, who is the Adikarta, the primeval creator, Bhaumasya Brahmanaha Brahmanatvasya Rakshanartam Devakyam Vasudevat Amshena Krishnaha Kila Sambhavita. Krishna as an avatar of Vishnu and Vishnu as the Adikarta Narayana. Very clearly, in unambiguous words, he mentions this in the Bhagavad Gita Bhashya. What is important to note here? Now, some might assume this or quote these references on the extreme to say that Shankara was actually a Vaishnava. He was just is being wrongly considered as a Shaiva or Shakta. The point here is not to say that. The point here is to say that in all these references, when you look at wherever he mentions about Vishnu, even the examples that I gave, he's giving that as an analogy. But what is he trying to say? That Brahman is one. That is that supreme Brahman alone, which is Nirguna, Nirakara, everything. When it becomes a Saguna form, there are various aspects. Vishnu could be one, Shiva could be one, Shakti could be one, whatever it is. So, when you are, even if you're doing upasana of Vishnu, through that upasana, get to that Brahman, get to that formless state, get to that Nirguna Brahman. So, in all his explanations, in all his aspects where he looked at Vishnu, he looked at Vishnu as Brahman itself, as the supreme being itself. The difference that came with, now you might ask, isn't this also what Ramanuja said in the Sri Vaishnava philosophy or in the Vishishtadvaita? Probably the way we'll have to say, to my limited knowledge, I'll have to say that they said only Vishnu is Brahman. Other deities are not Brahman. Other deities are subsidiary. Vishnu is the only deity who is Brahman. Shankara, Acharya didn't say that. Acharya said there is only one Brahman. If you are considering him as Vishnu, then Vishnu is Brahman. Forget other deities. If you're considering Shiva, Shiva is Brahman. The Brahman is only one, whether you call him by any name. So if I am praising, if I am worshipping Vishnu, I am worshipping Vishnu as that supreme Brahman itself. For that point, I am a Vaishnava. When I'm worshipping Shiva, I am worshipping Shiva as Brahman itself. That itself is Brahman to me. I am a Shaiva. That was the difference between Acharya and the later Acharyas and the Vaishnava Sampradaya that came later in the Vedanta Parampara. What more Vaishnava can you get than the Acharya? Giving all these explanations, what more Vaishnava can you be than the Acharya? There is no place where you can refute the Acharya that he didn't do justice to Vaishnavism, isn't it? So that needs to be very clearly understood. The very fact that Bhagavad Gita itself came into prominence was because of the Bhashya of the Acharya. Of course, not to say that the Bhagavad Gita Bhashyas were not written earlier, because in the Upadgata itself, Acharya says that many people have written and misinterpreted the Bhagavad Gita. So to put right, to make it right, I am rewriting this Bhagavad Gita Bhashyam in my way to correct all those misconceptions and misinterpretations. That means some Bhashyas also would have existed then, but the credit goes to the Acharya to bring this up as equivalent to the Upanishads. It is after the Acharya's Bhashya that it became a gold standard, it became benchmark that an Acharya Pada means you have to write Bhashyas on Prasthana Traya. The Prasthana Traya came from there. The Shruti Prasthana, the Smriti Prasthana, the Nyaya Prasthana, the Brahma Sutras and the Upanishads, Acharya brought the Bhagavad Gita at the same level and said all the three are equivalent texts of Vedanta. So that credit goes to the Acharya of bringing the Bhagavad Gita, which is a Vaishnava, which can be considered to be a Vaishnava text by the Vaishnavites. But it is Acharya who brought it to the fore and said it is a Vedanta Shastra. It is not Vaishnava or Shaiva, it is a Vedanta Shastra. So it's very clear that in all his references to Vishnu, it is a synonym of Brahman itself for him, right? That is why in the Bhagavad Gita itself, he says, in the 8th chapter, he says, Antakale, Maranakale, while explaining the Shloka 8.5, he says, Antakale, Maranakale, Chamameva, which Krishna says, right? Antakale, Maranakale, Chamameva. When he says Mameva, when he translates Mameva, he says Mameva, Parameshwaram, Vishnu Smaranna. That Parameshwara, that Vishnu, that Brahman, because he is called Krishna as Brahman itself. So that Brahman, that Vishnu, that Parameshwara is equating, all are synonyms for him. Mameva, Parameshwaram, Vishnu Smaranna, Muktva, Parityajya Kalevaram, Shariram, Yaha Prayati, Gachati, Saha Madbhavam. He translates Madbhavam as Vaishnavam Tattvam Yati. Vaishnavam Tattvam Yati. What is that Vaishnava Tattva? What is that Vishnu Pada? Tad Vishnoho Paramam Padam Sada Pashyanti Surayaha. What is that Vishnu Pada? Is it a Pada of particular deity? No. It is the Brahma Pada. Vaishnavam Tattvam, Brahma Tattvam, reaching the Brahma Tattva. So he's using this very interchangeably. Vishnu as Brahman, Vaishnava as Brahma is interchangeably used. That is the beauty of Acharya. Now, when we come to another aspect, so this is the Prasthanatraya Bhashya. He saw the Bhagavad Gita Bhashya, the Upanishad Bhashya, the Brahma Sutra Bhashya. Everywhere he has given references to the Vaishnava aspects. There is another beautiful work that Acharya has composed, which is the Vishnu Sahasranama Bhashya. Now, Vishnu Sahasranama is one of the canonical texts, is one of the core fundamental texts of Vishnu Bhakti. Vishnu Nama Sahasram me Shunu Papa Bhayapaham. That Nama Sahasram, even today, you go to any Vaishnava Kshetra, the Archana for Vishnu will happen on Vishnu Sahasranama because it is one of the most sanctified mantras. It is 1,000 names of Vishnu, right? Nothing can get more Vaishnavite than that, than the Vishnu Sahasranama. And Acharya has written a Bhashya on the Vishnu Sahasranama. So just imagine how a Vaishnavite Acharya is, and it is worth a read, the entire Bhashya, but I'll just give a few aspects of that Bhashya. In the beginning of the Bhashya itself, the Upodghata, the Mangalacharana, Mangala Shlokas, etc., they bear a very strong resemblance to the Krishnashtakam, which the Acharya had composed. There is a strong resemblance that you find between these two. But nonetheless, when you look at the various aspects of the Vishnu Sahasranama Bhashya, you'll find that every place Acharya refers to Vishnu as Brahman. Vishnu Vyapana Shilatvat. Brahmanaha Vyapana Shilatvat Vishnu. So what is that Vishnu? It is that all pervading Brahman is Vishnu. Vishwam Vishnu. That itself clarifies the entire Advaita Tattva in that. Then he goes on explaining the various other aspects. Narasimhavapu, he translates as Narasimhavapu. It is that Saguna aspect of Vishnu, which is the Narahari Rupa. Various aspects of Vishnu that come, he translates them as they are, be it Keshava, be it Madhusudana, be it Madhava, be it Srinivasa, as it is, what is required, exactly the way he will translate it as per the Vaishnava tradition. As per the form of Vishnu, he will translate it because he understands that there is the Saguna and the Nirguna aspect. He combines both of that in the Vishnu Sahasranama Bhashya. In the Mangala Charana that I said, Mangala Shloka, he speaks about Vishnu as Veda Vishayaha. He says that Vishnu is Veda Vishaya. He is Vedanta Vedya. He is Kirachara Guru. He is the Guru. He is Buddhi Sakshi. He is Dhyam Sakshi. So he is the supreme witness. He is the supreme Guru. He is the one that is known by the Vedas and the Vedanta, which is nothing but the supreme Brahman. So he is clearly not referring to a specific Devata or a historical personality. He is referring to the supreme Brahman. But wherever the references come in the Vishnu Sahasranama related to the Saguna form, Acharya will not say that this, he doesn't ignore that and go to the next. He translates this as the Saguna form. Because that is what is reflected in the Stotra literature of the Acharya. When he says Narasimha Vapu, he has composed an entire Lakshmi Narasimha Karavalamba Stotram on Lakshmi Narasimha. He has composed a Bhashya on the Narasimha Purvatapani Uttaratapani Upanishad. Narasimha Sampradaya is a very big Sampradaya inside the Shankara Sampradaya. That is another beautiful aspect to note. Even today, if you look at the pujas that are performed by the Acharyas of Sringeri, you will find that Narasimha Puja or Narasimha Dhyana, Narasimha Upasana is a very, very key aspect in the lives of the Acharyas. In fact, many of them even have the names as Narasimha attached in their names. And Narasimha Upasana, when you read the lives of many of these Acharyas, these Jagat Gurus of the Sringeri Peetham, you find that it goes hand in hand. It is a strong part of the Saguna worship, Saguna Upasana in that Acharya Parampara. This Acharya Parampara, you can find it right in Acharya itself, in Shankara itself, you can find that those seeds of Nrsimhopasana, be it his during the Kapalika episode, where the Kapalika comes to behead the Acharya, and then Padmapada gets the Avesha of Nrsimha and comes. He sings the Nrsimha Karavalamba Stotram and pacifies. He then composes the Bhashya on Nrsimha Purvatapani Uttaratapani Upanishad. So, Acharya's association with these various Vaishnavite forms, be it the form of Nrsimha, be it the form of Krishna, be it the form of Rama, right? He composes the Rama Bhujanga Stotram and everything. He says, I don't know anything other than Rama. Right? Rama Nama only, I know only Rama, I don't know anything else. Be it that Rama, be it the Panduranga, be it Achyuta, Ananta, Govinda, the names of Vishnu in its various forms or Vishnu in its entirety, Acharya looks at it at that Saguna form at that point and worships it. But he will not end there. He will take the sadhaka from that Saguna till the Nirguna form and end with Brahman only. And if you want to call that Brahman Vishnu, you are free to call, but that is Brahman. There is only one Brahman there. So this, I hope, gives a good insight into the association of the Acharya and the Vaishnava tradition. I have shared whatever I knew, whatever little I know is what I have shared with all of you. There might be many, many more things associated with this, but with this limited time and my limited understanding of this, I thought it would be a great thing for me to share this with all of you. I hope all of you enjoyed this. Namaskar.